In this video I'm going to review the Cobra Water Mixable Oil Paint Value Starter Pack. I will discuss the quality of water mixable oil paints and create a painting using the water mixable oils. So firstly, let's discuss the paints. The pack contains 10 40ml tubes, and the reason why I was interested in this pack is that they had all the colours that I need for my usual skin tones palette, unlike other starter packs, where I had to order 2 additional colours. The only colour that they would benefit from adding is alizarin crimson, but as you can see I managed without this. However, this is one that I would like to order in the future. The colours provided are titanium white, permanent yellow light, permanent orange, pyrrole red, permanent red violet light, ultramarine, permanent green deep, burnt sienna, yellow ochre and ivory black. There are a total of 70 colours in the range. They come in 40ml tubes, which is the size included in this pack, but also 150ml in a wide variety of colours. And this is particularly good for the colours that you run out of quite frequently, like white and black. They also make a range of mediums and varnishes that you can use with the Cobra paints. The mediums affect the properties of the paints and are often essential for a long-lasting structure to your painting, and adding a varnish at the final stage protects your painting for a long time. The packaging has a detailed description in many languages and states, amongst other facts and claims, it states that it has a high degree of pigmentation and fineness, artist quality, does not contain any solvents and can be used everywhere, is odourless and anti-allergenic, contains colours with a uniform degree of sheen, has a uniform drying time, gives typical oil paint results such as sharp brush strokes and wonderfully deep colours, is ideal for oil paint techniques from alla prima and layered painting to glazing techniques, mixes very well with water. The history of the Cobra company is it originated from a movement of modern artists including Carroll, Apple and Corneille in Europe in 1948. The name comes from the 3 cities where the founders came from: Copenhagen, Brussels and Amsterdam. The paint company today is now owned by Royal Talens. So what are water mixable oils? As stated in the description on the packaging earlier, water mixable oils have the textural qualities of oils but are similar to acrylics and watercolours in that they don't need solvents for washing and dilution. Because of this, you can use usual techniques such as glazing or impasto. The science behind the structure of Cobra paints and how they work is that they contain a pigment and a drying oil. We all know that water and oil don't mix. So this is why I was suspicious of these paints when I first tried them about 6 months ago, and I had several questions about them since, but let's see how Cobra are when we test them out on this painting of a hand. When mixing the paints, I noticed that they have quite a creamy and soft texture, which is quite good for mixing. The magic of the paints is a plant-based emulsifier. One of the main differences between Royal Talens Cobra water mixable paints and other brands is that they are light fast, which means that they will not fade for a long period of time. The 3 crosses indicates that they have semi-opaque light fastness, which means that they are at least 100 years light fast under museum conditions. The first thing I did was test the colours with different thicknesses, firstly to see if they work well in impasto, which they do as you can see with the yellow, but also to see the different drying times. The orange paint dried within 5 days, but I found with using this paint in previous sessions, as I have bought a few loose tubes of this, that if it is applied dry, you will not be able to work into it in about 3 to 4 days on a canvas. I also found in testing this that the yellow paint had a skin to it after about 7 days, but after 7 days the ultramarine and the white were still wet, and also the yellow ochre was starting to dry after 7 days. In areas it was still wet, but in areas it was starting to dry. All the other colours were dry to the touch. So now for testing the oil paints in a real painting situation. I decided to test the oil paints on paper. The reason for this rather than on canvas is I wanted to create a smooth effect because I was going to be using skin tones. So I used Arches watercolour paper, and I decided to add 2 layers of gesso before starting to add the oil paint. If you want to find out more information about the products that I used in today's clip, then please check the description below and you will find information on all of the resources that I used. So I started by adding an initial layer, and all the skin tones that I used are on the left hand side. You will see occasionally the above view, and you will see all of those skin tones on the left hand side. So I started by blocking in the dark tones before moving on to the lighter tones. This is a technique called underpainting, and I'm just blocking in all of those dark tones first, going gradually from dark to light. So I'm going to some brown dark skin tones. I will go into time lapse here for the simple reason that obviously this painting took 3 days, and this is where the water mixable element comes into play, because I left the painting out. I didn't have to put it away anywhere. I did, however, cover the paints, so I put them in a container that I use for storing oil paints, just to make sure that there's no airborne dust, etc., landing on the paints. So this is my second day. And you can see I'm starting to now add the lighter tones. On the left hand side you can see my palette, and that has been stored in my airtight container. As you can see, I am able to blend those darker tones in fairly well, and they were painted in on the first day, but they haven't soaked into the paper, and they are blending in really well on the second day. Even on the third day, the colours were blending in really easily. I found the whole experience really enjoyable, and even on the third day I found that the skin tones blended in really well. Overall, I was really pleased with the Cobra starter pack because it had pretty much every colour that I needed apart from alizarin crimson. I know that the quality of the paints is really good and they blend really well even after 3 days, and the most important thing that I thought was great about these paints is because of the light fast quality, which means that they last over 100 years in museum conditions. If you would like to find out more about using water mixable oil paints, then click on the playlist below. If you would like to find out more about any of the products that I have used in today's clip, then look in the description below. And finally, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified of future content like this.